Hey, Mike.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good. Thanks for coming aboard today.
No problem. But I get to meet some people here.
You. Maybe we'll wait just a couple minutes because we're expecting another Mike, and then I'm trying to remember who else said they were coming in on Zoom. Yeah. So how are things at your place?
Good.
Good.
Good. I was out getting muddy the other day, on Friday, or on Wednesday.
Yeah, well, the weather is still good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we scheduled a ride for Sunday, and it's cooling off a bit, but they were threatening some precipitation. I don't know if it's really going to happen or not.
Well, if it happens, I'll be there
Yeah. The ride or the precipitation?
at the ride.
Oh, guaranteed. We never cancel a ride once we've scheduled it. So
Oh, good.
that's one thing to know about our club. If it's raining or snowing, there will still always be somebody there. So where do you live?
I live in Coldstream,
Oh.
out by the college on that side of the lake.
Willie side?
Yeah.
Right on. Unfortunately, it's not trail access from your backyard.
That would be nice.
Yeah, it helps. So, well, we're almost at 6:30. I don't see anyone else popping in here. Hopefully it makes a noise or something like that when they do. So maybe we'll get started with some introductions. So I'm Clint. Let's see here. We've got Jerry, Klaus, Alan and Brenda. And I can't see who we got. That's Lee. Where'd Monique go? Oh, she's hiding over there. There's Monique. We've got, here we go. I'll use the finger pointer. Steve, Sigrid, Sue, Michael, Christian, Marvin, Chad, and Daniel.
Okay, I will remember your name for about 2 seconds here.
Heck, I don't even remember their names. So.
There will be a test, right? Yeah.
Oh,
I'll study for it for next time.
what do you think? Should we admit Uncle Chubbo, or is that a? I asked people to identify themselves. I don't know if Uncle Chubbo is an admittable name, but we'll.
Chubbo?
Uncle Chugabo. Well, let's see. Hi, Matt.
Hello.
Hello. And we have an Uncle Chubbo. Please identify yourself, Mr. or Mrs.
Still working on it.
Mm.
Hey there. Is that Mike?
Yeah.
It is. There you go. You're no longer Uncle Chubbo. That's good.
Yeah. Well, Uncle Trouble's for the family Zoom.
We'll maybe just do another quick round of introductions here. So I'm Clint. We have Jared. We have Klaus and Brenda, Alan, or vice versa, Alan and Brenda, Monique, Lee, Steve, Sigrid, Sue, Michael, Christian, Marv, Chad, and Daniel.
We probably could have gone up there. It's not that many people. Anyway.
Not that many people? No, we got lots of room. We could have put people way out in the back 40 yet. So. I do have to tell online participants that we could not figure out the poll option. It claims that there's supposed to be a poll option, and we haven't the foggiest idea how to do that. So if it comes to voting, we'll have to figure out some other way of doing that. So. Hey, there we go. Show of hands. So, who's our secretary? Hey, we got a secretary. Okay, so what would we call it? 6:35? Call to order. And I'd say additions to the agenda, but there actually isn't much on the agenda. It's basically just talking about what happened in the last 2 years and what didn't happen. The minutes of the previous AGM meeting are somewhere that we can't find right now. So
Wasn't me.
it wasn't me. And as far as the number of people here, we have achieved a quorum. I do believe we actually have our bylaws, and we were smart and we reduced our quorum to 10 people at our last AGM from 20. So, because would we have made it today just barely? 15 plus 2. Okay, so yeah, so we made quorum, which is awesome.
What about Carol?
Who's that? Oh, that's all right. People don't have to.
No, he does not video. Right, you gotta put video stuff.
Oh.
It's a thing in Colorado.
Yep. So the first thing of somewhat substance on the agenda was just going to be reports from directors. So I'll start off with the president's report. And I just wanted to, like I said, talk about what's happened in the last year. Everybody got hit by COVID. The club adapted really, really well and really quickly. We actually had a ride in March. Yeah, March or April of 2020. And we were really responsible. And that's actually one of the things that I had to say is I'm really proud of how the club's behaved through all of this. It's the great outdoors, but we all still were keeping distance from one another. And hello.
So this is Mark.
This is Mark. How are you doing, Mark? Good, good. There are chairs behind you there if you want one.
Is that Mark with a C or a K?
C.
C.
Yeah, back to riding. So once we got over the initial shock of COVID, summer 2020 was reasonably active. We had a decent amount of rides, and then fall of 2020 happened and we shut her down. We didn't do near as much winter riding last year. Hardly any. Yeah, partially COVID and partially maybe it was really crappy winter. I guess some news that I don't think anybody here has heard of is, so we've had a partnership agreement with Rec Sites and Trails for Becker Lake Ponds for 10 years. And they actually didn't want to renew it this year because they said, there's a lot of paperwork and you guys don't do anything. I'm like, that's right. We go up there and we look at the rec site and that's about it. So I don't think that's a bad thing for us necessarily. It wasn't necessarily clearly defined what they wanted us to do. And maybe it was up, because it's interesting, they actually have a contractor that goes up there and does all the work, so I don't know what we were expected to do. But that brings up a bit of a question, and I know we've discussed this in the past, of what the club wants to do, or, you know, primarily we're a riding and social club. I think it's fair to say. There are some projects that rec sites and trails want to do. One of them being a mapping project around Grizzly Lake. And what they want to do is they want to identify the trails and put up signage, and they actually want to make it a destination that people would come and ride at. On the flip side of that is Ian from Rec Sites and Trails. He's told me, you're in a watershed. Don't be surprised in the future, however far out that is, that the water people try to establish more control over where you can ride. I don't know when that'll happen because there's so many Forest Service roads or forestry roads up in there. And then another thing of interest, this is maybe more something that I'm interested in, and I know a few people like Lee, you've ridden and camped out this way, but we actually have an opportunity to connect trails that we can get to, or that we can ride right from King Eddie to Nakas, Revelstoke, and Grand Forks with just a little bit of on the ground work and identifying things. That would also take us to Beaverdale, Okanagan Falls, Rock Creek. Once you get to Grand Forks, you can get to Christina Lake and beyond. So there's some key connectors down in the Kettle Valley area that that are some pretty fun things. And then the last thing, this is just something maybe to think about for once we're done our reports and just talking about stuff in general, is Winter Carnival's coming up soon, and the Snowmobile Club would like to do a parade entry with us if we're interested. The idea that I floated to them, I don't think they were terribly keen on it, but we could have quads and side-by-sides with trailers, you know, just a little trailer, and you could put a sled or two on the back, and we could tow the sleds through town. So I think they're looking to go big. They want a big semi-tractor trailer unit. So that's about it for me, I think. So we're on to VP report. Remember, it was in an email. Everyone's supposed to have a report for a minute, so you can come up, talk to the group. It doesn't count when you're not up at the computer.
Doesn't count.
Doesn't count until you're up here telling a story.
Oh, I'm counting. Sorry. My report is similar to Clint's at the beginning. So the way the club adapted to the COVID virus and everybody's safe. I've got to come on a few more rides than I have been in the past. It's really fun. On that. I think it's a ride club and a social club all in one. And I'm like get together, do things. Looking forward to the, we will be up a little bit more and more each time. Getting out to do more camping and riding. Hoping to plan a trip on this in the summer. Hopefully. If it's this year. On a week trip, just camping. Hopefully. That's it. And I look forward to meeting new people too. Was that 60 seconds?
Who knows?
My turn?
Alan, the treasurer.
As some of you well know, the Vernon ATV Club is in a very good financial situation. We currently have a bank balance of $15,523. Brenda's passing around paper with all this on it. That give you an idea of the bank balance 2 years ago, because we haven't done anything socially, it's $9,100 2 years ago. So we increased by $6,000. And this just gives you, this paper here gives you the outstanding payables and receivables, and our adjusted bank balance right now is $15,240. Except for today's pizza. And signage.
And we don't have any restrictions. This isn't gaming money or anything like this.
No, this is
and fundraising stuff that we've done in the past.
Yeah, like the the donations you did at Mount Ida thing, we earned $43 a donation. I thought it was pretty good for, that would be half of what we did, so.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Do we want to discuss, like Jerry, you brought up, what we
Somebody
want to,
sounds-
yeah, like, the club isn't a business, right? Our goal isn't to make money, so,
I mean, in the past, we've given money to things like some of the other things, and we haven't this the last couple of years, but we probably should really look
yeah, so we've done a number
at
of
Howard's
different,
house.
yeah, search and rescue, food bank, we often changed it up, but it was,
Search and rescue isn't as big as it used to be, because now they finally got some more funding from the provincial government, whereas before they got zero or next to zero.
Yeah.
What's that? No, but what happened in the past, before the current awful that happened a couple of years ago, just about, they got a blank Vernon Search and Rescue, get a blank number of dollars, and they have fundraise for the rest. They wanted a truck or a boat or extra training, you'd have to fundraise for all that. Now the provincial government's paying them much better. I'm not saying it's endless, but I know that they're not complaining like they used to. You would probably know more on that than I do.
yeah, I don't know.
But that's just what I've heard, and it's
That'll turn off in a second.
just impressive.
So historically, we were doing $750 a year.
5, I thought.
I thought we did 3 250 amounts, or was it?
Yeah,
And they go
okay,
over-
okay, that's something.
So do we, while we're in the money kind of mode, do we want to throw out some ideas of, we'd like to get back to that, I think, to some local organizations that we feel are a good place to throw some money to.
I know that, don't have charity, but, the guys are helping out with the floods and the wildfire restorations are still accepting donations, not to help with those that have been impacted.
Relief,
Thank you.
Okay. Other,
Flood relief or wildfire relief, which one?
Both. I'd say probably wildfire, because that seemed to affect us a little bit more than the,
yeah, Vernon wasn't really. Yeah,
but the wildfire one probably wouldn't hurt considering how much of the damage is done out on the
Okay.
reserve and out in the trail areas,
yeah, we won't be riding West Side Road for a long time.
or produce anytime soon.
Padoose is okay, just not anything
Yeah, you
west
can
of
get,
Padoose.
you can get to Panu's, no problem. We did it.
Oh, right.
It's not in the fire restriction.
Nothing west.
Other ideas? So food bank, yeah, we've done hospice, we've done women's transition or shelter or stuff like that.
I think it's Archway Society.
Oh, is that right?
Transition House.
Yeah. Someone just has to throw ideas out there and we can discuss them and figure out what we're doing.
I work in home domains to the transition house.
Okay.
And then there's also a turning point. Is turning points took over our house?
Have we ever done a adopted Caesar program? Caesar. For pretty good, those.
Yeah. All right. Not a lot of ideas here. So far, we've got fire relief.
Flood relief,
I think we're skipping the flood because it's a little
Okay.
further away.
okay.
I just kind of bulk it into disaster relief.
This place would qualify for that. So.
If anybody wants to light a fire here, we wouldn't be against it.
Just give us 5 minute warning.
Search and rescue still.
Oh, they always would, yes.
They had to do a couple high profile rescues in the last months.
That couple in New Ammo.
You have
Probably be-
thought you said food bank.
Yeah, I was throwing ideas out, so yeah.
Has anybody got any ideas, like, for, you know, the club's supposed to do stuff that promotes. So is there any sort of charitable donation thing that would promote ATV? Especially since there's probably gonna be a bit of a fight on access to fire areas.
That'd be good. Right.
Any comments on Zoom?
Any ideas for potential nonprofits to receive $250 in the Vernon area? Vernon SPCA, thanks, Matt.
Brenda had a good point, volunteer fire department. At the west side.
Oh, they all have volunteer. Coldstream has them.
Well, the trouble with Zoom is the volume on this thing is useless. I can hear so little.
It's the only one that has one. Everyone else around here is for. Oh, do they?
In addition to their pay, yeah.
It gives an external speaker.
I guess you have it on the maximum.
I think it is. Yeah.
All volunteer. Except for the fire chief.
Yeah, Mike Dillon, you might want to mute your mic. Yeah, like that.
We did it. Okay, who's got, Alan, you're the money guy. You get to go through the list. And
Well, I mean, so the big one so far seems to be wildfire relief, search and rescue, food bank, the volunteer fire departments.
SPCA, those are all.
But those ones I just mentioned are more related to us than anything else.
Yeah.
SPCA is a nice one, but it's not related to us per se. But I'm not saying, I'm not opposed to that either. I'm just,
Do we have to choose one, or do you?
oh, I think we should choose 3 or 4.
yeah, maybe because we're of ample balance right now, we could do 4. Historically, we've done 3 a year. So why don't, well, is everyone okay with doing 4 this year?
Yeah.
All right, okay, so now we have the fun task of narrowing it down to 4. So, show of hands, including the people on the internet. Let's start with first one, fire relief. That's a lot of hands. Hey, and a thumbs up. Thanks, Matt.
That works.
Number 2, so this is Women's Transition Archway Society, is that?
Yeah, it's been renamed Archways.
Okay. Okay, so the Women's Transition Society, show of hands. Okay, thank you, Mike. The third one was mentioned, adopt a senior. Is that a thing? Or is that just somebody's uncle that
It
needs?
is a thing, because they're having a really hard time right
Oh,
now.
I think it's for loneliness type issues, right?
Well, and the inflation, right? They're on a fixed income and everything's going up bonkers,
You
so.
take some seniors for some rides in the side by sides.
Yeah.
You don't want to give them a hard
No, we don't, we won't want to have heart attacks.
It's already fun.
Yeah, because I've already brought search and rescue, so we have double our efforts.
No, we can give a GPS coordinate where we drop them off, so. All right, adopt a senior, show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Like who would
I have to have
manage
a
that?
senior, because I'm a senior.
I think she was.
We got 6, I think.
It's okay.
Okay. Search and rescue.
I guarantee what he did.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
You haven't already?
The food bank.
Sorry?
Food bank.
I'd say that's it for sure.
Everyone but 1 or 2. Vernon SPCA. Okay, we got 4, I think. Okay, and did you have more on your list?
Volunteer fire department.
Volunteer fire department. Volunteer, we're not sure which one, but volunteer fire department. The one with the best looking calendar, right, ladies?
You've got 2 on Zoom, that's hands up.
Okay, thank you.
So I'd say the 4 that we got out of that was wildfire relief, search and rescue, food bank, and volunteer fire
Okay. Hey. No, you're not going anywhere.
department.
Alan can go sit down. So while we're on the topic of money, it's not that we don't mind having it in the bank account. It actually helps for events like this that we know we can afford to buy some food and have everybody show up. But other clubs do things with their money, and we do as well. Actually, we own 2 or 3 pole saws. We own a couple weed whackers. We own trail maintenance equipment. Other ideas, we own a barbecue somewhere.
Some kitty carts.
Yeah, we own kitty carts, although CNC Manutech purchased those basically. What else do we own? Some banners, little stuff like that. So there's, what is something that we could put money towards that would either improve trails, improve safety, improve meetings and events? So it's more just food for thought or discussion. The other thing that it is nice having money is if we ever do get to where we want to do some sort of a trail project, often they want you to have a certain amount of the funds, or you can also count volunteer time and stuff like that. Christian?
I was thinking it might be nice, don't know if we have one already, but maybe to have a designated first aid, like an outdoor rated first aid kit.
We have 2.
Oh, we do have some?
We just don't know where they are.
So maybe we should get a 3rd one, and we do know where it is.
Well, they'll be around, but
How old are these kids?
yeah, they're gonna be what? Well, Monique, where'd Monique go?
Probably with the Jamboree was.
Yeah, so they're 10 years old.
So I'm
So
just
they're
thinking,
expired.
yeah, because I'm just thinking back to that one ride where we just did have the incident where search and rescue had to come in, if we had have had certain medications or certain diabetic equipment, could we have
Don't even
taken
take
out?
medication.
No,
No,
when I
it's
say-
trauma.
when I
Yeah,
say
trauma.
medication, I'm thinking, glucose tablets or just basic supplies like that, that you should have for outdoor trips.
Yeah,
Yeah, or even just basic. If something happens, you gotta wait an hour, what should you get?
I think the good thing with the increased prevalence of side-by-sides is there's probably a lot more first aid kits out there. I know I carry a pretty decent one in mine. Yeah, so more space means more stuff you can tote around, which is nice.
In line with what we were discussing informally in the past is club sponsored communication gear for tail gunner versus ride leaders.
Yes, that's one we absolutely have to do. We just have to figure out some of the small details of how to make it work properly, as in
Portable enough to get to someone else.
Yeah.
portable enough, but it can't just be a handheld radio, because that person riding with a handheld radio will never hear you. It has to be something where there's at least a speaker in their helmet, or else it's largely pointless. So
Short of having some sort of light that you can mount a light.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there a radio that flashes lights really bright or can flash a light?
That's something we can look into.
Uh,
certainly.
Oh, okay.
part of the problem with a handheld radio is how are you going to mount it on your quad, his quad, her quad, my side by side, without us having to go back 47 kilometers for it, drop somewhere along the trail here.
But they
So-
have those really good leather pouches that snaps on.
Yeah, no, but it's just,
Yeah.
we'd have to make sure that it's modular enough that it can work for different people. So, but yeah, that one actually is one that at the end of this meeting, we should have a few people working on ideas for that, because we have had radios in the past. We still do have those. I saw one at my house the other day. They need new batteries because they're 10 years old now. They would still do the trick, but it's something we have to have for our rides. So,
Someone mentioned, like, but we also mentioned it before, like, tail gunner had a little flashing light, round light stuck in this thing, so people that
pass
Or
on.
the leader had something so people don't pass.
Yeah.
At our ride leader training session, we actually talked about getting a certain style of high-vis vest that we could have for rides. That was very clearly, it was Vernon ATV Club, and not just any other, one that you can buy off the shelf. Like you can get different colors, different designs, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Get them that say, tail gunner,
Yeah.
leader, on across the shoulders, yeah.
So with the vest like that, maybe you could have some sort of harness or spot
For the
where you
radio.
could mount have the radio and it would be in a spot where they could vibrate or it would
Yeah, goes with the flash.
flash or something.
Yeah.
Good idea.
One of the problems, because I've encountered this with handheld radios with their antenna, is anywhere here, it usually ends up in your helmet. The antenna does, but not to poo-poo it, but yeah, I do agree that that's a good idea to incorporate the radio into that gear.
I used to ski patrol and I always had my radio in my pocket and an earphone, my helmet, which would work ideally. The antenna never got a problem, but to activate the radio, you have to go like this. So if you're riding an ATV, that's kind of a pain. You have to get
The biggest thing is that you can hear it, right? That,
You can always stop to
Yeah.
communicate.
Yeah, it actually got to the point where I couldn't ski without one.
So if you have a radio, you can get the push to talk switches that'll just Velcro onto your bars. I use earbuds that just plug into the radio and into my helmet with the mic on them. And that seems to work pretty good for me, but it depends if the person wants to, use earbuds or whatever. That way you can put the radio in your pocket. You don't have to change channels or anything on it. So everything's right at your fingertips when you're riding.
yeah, exactly. For people like I don't necessarily do well with earbuds because it gets painful after a while. I bought really thin helmet speakers. They were like $30 and put them in my helmet. The problem I had is when I stood up one time, it wrapped around my handlebar and ripped it right out of the helmet. So
What we had on calls when we were paramedic was a regular type of radio, handheld radio in the vest pocket of the vest. And then we had a mic with a speaker like mounted to the vest, like here, so you could hear when people talk. With the helmet on, and you could just push the button to talk, like push the button to talk to them, so you could hear and talk about.
That's what I have on the way the tenant is and the way they say that's.
yeah.
But you figure with Bluetooth technology nowadays, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah, I searched. There's a little bit of it out there. A lot of it seems to be.
Decent one that's a full Bluetooth and they sell the inline helmets or their earbud ones.
Oh yeah,
Lots of money, but $1,000 could save lives good.
yeah, because
You guys ever heard of this, Dennis? They just clip
Yeah.
onto your helmet and stuff. They're about $400.
their range isn't near what a handheld radio is, though. It's
Bluetooth.
Yeah, like we've had issues with our sons, if one of us is,
If you're beyond line of sight, especially cresting hills, the set range drops off significantly. So we have them on our when we ride to get possible. And we were talking a ride leader versus a gunner. There could be a kilometer between them. So something like that, Bluetooth wouldn't work.
You're never gonna get to, well, you have to do the power.
Well, like the Bluetooth goes, it's just you're 200 meters. at best.
Just to each other.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, standards do talk about being
Power.
half a K to a K.
That's pure line of sight though. Once you
Yeah.
get into trees and stuff like that,
Oh,
it
yeah.
significantly goes down.
So we use Cardo Pack Talk Bold for our motorbikes, and we get about a kilometer out of them. But that's something that you have to actually mount on. Everybody's helmet that was using would have to mount it on the side of their helmet, or they would have to have a mount. And then you could switch, between helmets with just a mount if you just had two control units.
Right?
And that's all Bluetooth. That's not hooked up to anything.
Yeah, so I think that's and here we're just kind of brainstorming ideas for what to do. So from this, definitely we'll come up with, after the meeting, we'll go into more detail of what to do. Any other ideas for things that would improve just the club, whether it's social, riding, safety, maybe it's,
First aid course possibly.
yeah,
I wouldn't be against it.
What about a snow cap so we can do the trails in the wintertime? Nope.
Club sponsored tracks for your machines?
Wow.
He was going there, but he took.
Well, good.
How about a great big trailer so we can haul our quads down south to go?
Yeah, Lee's already got that. We had talked about the idea of a trailer to put some of our junk in, so it's all in something. So,
Cargo
Yeah,
trailer?
all
Yeah,
over
SAR
the
seems to do that and they get it stolen every.
yeah,
Yeah, no kidding.
Trailer? Yeah, if you're gonna do that, do not have any exterior markings on it.
no, yeah, put like Roy's septic service or
Yeah,
something. And
like that. Yeah. Exactly. You pump it, we pump it.
all right, that's about it for ideas, I guess. We will, whomever the directors after the meeting are, they'll take that list and work on it and come up with some good ideas, some things to benefit the club. Membership. Jerry.
Yeah. So we've got 170 members. We got pretty close to 200 there early in the early summer, but then a lot of people didn't renew, so it's dropped off a little bit. Probably not, yeah. I guess they just weren't out doing stuff.
Well, a lot of people heard they couldn't renew insurance once the fires came around, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so, one of the big changes that's happened over the last couple of years is there's been a big increase in people buying memberships online, which is really convenient, actually.
Once I get the bugs worked out of it.
Yeah. There's a couple of people like Michael had some troubles, things, but it seems to be working really well. So that's a convenient way to do it. And they're supposed to be sending out email announcements to you a little bit before your membership comes up for renewal. So that gives you a little spur to maybe go online and buy.
People are paying for online, and then they're getting emails saying you have a membership, and they don't want to say what they're wrong, just the process. But now I have to have public.
Yeah, they're, like I said, bugs again.
I think we got.
And yeah, that's about it on that. We were trying to get 200. I think we're probably going to get there one of these days, but it's been an elusive goal so far, but we're close.
And we're at what right now?
170, 169 actually.
One of the interesting things about membership, and we've definitely seen a lot more people on rides, larger groups on rides. And that spurred us 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, to switch from the old method of ride leading, which was everyone would wait at every corner, and inevitably about 3 hours into the ride, someone wouldn't wait at a corner and we'd lose people. So we switched for the most part to doing leapfrog, which works amazingly well because you just ride. The whole day you ride until you get pointed at and you stop and you wait for 3 minutes and then you join on in the ride again. But actually it's interesting, and I've had, not everyone has to like it because it works well, so we're gonna continue doing it. But I actually had some people last weekend that said, "Oh, I really don't like that." Like, what don't you like about it? So we're always open to ideas. We found that it works amazingly well. We've done, well, the rides to Mara Mountain. We've had 50-person rides and they've gone fairly well doing it that way. Whereas if you were trying to do it the old way, you would have lost 7 or 8 people guaranteed. So I guess a few comments about that is ride size is always an issue for people, right? There's the different speeds that people are going. There's the different abilities, whether people like that leapfrog or not, whether people like that large of groups or not. So I guess maybe just a bit of a discussion, your thoughts around that. And it ties into ride leaders, I guess. It would be perfect, and I would love this. Like, people always say, well, why don't you just break up into smaller groups? Well, the problem is that there's a few of us that know the trails really well. And if I say to Alan, hey, Alan, we're gonna go to Wilma Lake, then we're gonna head on down over here. He's like, yeah, I got it. But other people don't necessarily know that. So it's difficult to break into smaller groups. We'd love to get there. So I guess we'd love to have more people skilled at being ride leaders, but understandably, there's always that apprehension of being a ride leader. Oh, I'm responsible for people. I'm going to take a wrong turn, but don't worry, I take wrong turns all the time. And
Just don't tell anyone.
oh, I tell them, yeah. But so I guess because reality is that's what the club is, right? Is it's rides. So I guess if you're comfortable, we'd maybe go around the room and just what you like about rides, what you don't like about rides. If you have any ideas or suggestions, is everyone okay with doing something like that? Sure. Daniel.
Well, I like the faster pace rides with the leapfrog method. Sometimes you get stuck behind somebody going at their own pace, which is fine. But sometimes that pace is like 20 kilometers on a Forest Service road.
Right. Yeah, and that one of the things that we've tried to do with that is we've tried to communicate better what this ride's going to be. So this ride's going to be up to 50 kilometers an hour. This ride's going to be 60 to 90, to try to control that.
I was actually going to comment on that when you got to me.
Sure.
When you were talking about the ride you're out, you're pretty specific about, okay, this is what we're doing. It's the skill level you possibly need. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, that was part of actually, so the ride leader training, I'd recommend if we do it again, that everybody comes out to it, because it isn't just for being a ride leader. We learned a lot from everybody who participated and had suggestions, like I hope we hear here, that people are like, well, when you guys post rides, I don't know if I should come or not, because it doesn't tell me the abilities so we've tried to be a lot more clear. So we actually have a little bit of a checklist that says, how long, are there bathrooms, what are the abilities, do you need fuel, is this ride going to go, like, can you come home partway through it? Like different things like that. We try to say, I know we don't always. So any suggestions or Daniel, any thoughts that you've had?
No, in general, I'm enjoying all the rides I go on. So.
Perfect. Awesome. Chad?
Yeah, like I said, I've only been on a few, and knowing what you're getting into is fantastic. And the fact that some of them end halfway, like you only have half a day to ride, it's a great option as well. So you have a few hours.
Yeah.
Still get out.
Yeah.
Enjoy the group, enjoy the ride.
Maybe one thing to think about as we're going around is what days we ride. So it does often end up being Sunday, and just what days of the week work, whether Sundays work for you or not. Matt, Daniel?
So I was going to go on that Moose Lake ride, but I didn't realize it was on Saturday because I usually take the Saturday to prepare. And then when I got to Walmart or the parking lot and saw nobody there, I was like, wait a minute.
Thank you.
I didn't go, but I ended up doing Plan B, which was winterization of my house. And I was contemplating not going on the ride.
We posted the track. You could have gone and rode it yourself.
But anyway, it was right there, plain as day. It's just I read what I wanted to.
Yeah, we all do that. Chad, days of the week?
Weekends are
Saturday versus Sunday make a big difference?
usually Sunday's a bit better. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really not a huge deal.
Sure.
Church of England.
Yeah. Marvin?
Yeah, the only real ride I went on this year was the Paramount one,
That's the roughest ride on earth.
and I certainly appreciated, who was Bill Gunner? You were there, certainly appreciated the support, I think, you were hanging around, making sure there was kind of keeping up. I had trouble because I had two different sized wheels on the back of my ATV. And so understandably, it was always fighting one way. And now I have them both the same size, so I'd be better off.
And that is one of the rougher, that or Hunter's Range and a few of those high elevation ones. All the dirt's been washed away, so you're just riding on bowling balls the whole time, so.
I think that's the roughest ride. It is.
Yeah, I like going up the drive.
The shoulders. are great.
I've been up there before, and so I had an idea of what we're gonna kind of thing, so great. But I certainly appreciate the support.
And you're retired, so do days of the week matter?
I'm retired, I could go during the week.
Okay. Yeah, which is actually, there is a sizable retired community. So one of the things that I'd have to say is one avenue, and I know not everyone's on Facebook, but if you are, the Vernon ATV Trail Riders is one. And Mark, what's your west side?
Oh, I basically had taken that down.
Oh, okay.
There's really not much
Just a-
interest in it and stuff.
Just
so-
a few people, yeah. With the Vernon ATV Trail Riders, it's a group. So unlike a Facebook page where it's someone like myself who administers the page saying things, a group is people talking to one another. So you can go on there and you go, hey, next week I want to go riding, and other people will chime in hopefully. So
Good idea, but
yeah, use it for the things that it's good for and turn it off.
Yeah, I've been happy with the way the emails are laid out with what experience level, the speeds and that. Weekends obviously are better because during the week doesn't. I haven't been out much this year, but it's definitely been a lot easier to be able to plan when we know what we're getting into and as a build up confidence and more experience. And you try the harder rides, and even if you come across something you don't like, there's always someone willing to push your ass off the edge. Band-aids, duct tape, it's all you need. Oh, and that straps, I think, the one.
Zip ties depending on where you're in the world.
Thank you, Michael.
So, yeah, like everyone else, the emails have been great. Obviously, I've not been on very many rides due to health issues and mechanical breakdowns that have been plagued with this last year. I like the leapfrog. I think it's a great system, and I think especially the fact that you can choose to stay in the leapfrog as a group, which gives like Chris and I ride together a lot, so that way we can stay together because we have comms, so we can talk, and if you get too far apart, you lose comms. So yeah, really happy with that. Yeah, I generally prefer riding on Saturdays versus Sundays, just because then Sunday is the cleanup day and getting stuff ready for work for next week. But I'm good with either. And this year I want to see more night rides as well.
Thank you.
And yeah, weekend camping trip and possibly the route planning that we were talking about get around
Edgewood,
Edgewood.
And dudes,
we can go to the,
Do less forest fires. I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, well, yeah, forest fires bad. I was gonna say we could go to the dunes, but now Omicron, who knows if you can go. Well, you still can, but for how
You'll
long?
get tested the day before you cross now.
Not driving.
Is it not for driving or is
No.
it?
No.
Not flying? Okay.
That'll change, don't worry.
So we have to ride our quads across the border somewhere where there's no.
That usually doesn't work very well.
that's why you send me first.
There's always something.
Mexican border.
They'll allow it wrong. And we know you get a lot more questions when you have a machine on the back of your truck trying to come back into Canada now.
Not normally, just this year. Sue,
I like the leapfrog. I don't think we're on two rides. Except
Yeah.
for the wasn't sure if you ride.
it was kind of an ATV club ride, I think.
I like Sunday. And I like the smaller rides. And I appreciate you telling me when you actually want to. There was one ride I was gonna go on and I was texting and then you go, you won't enjoy this ride. I'm like, okay, I'm not coming.
I think that was the big 250, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah. You said, no, that doesn't sound like fun.
You're like, stay home. We're like, okay. So I appreciate the honesty, you know, like. But yeah, the leapfrog was awesome. Sunday's awesome.
Mark, you've been on a few rides with us now.
Yeah, definitely enjoying it. I love how you guys are set up. I like the information that we know ahead of time before the ride. That's fantastic. The leapfrog method is awesome. I like that as well. Saturdays, Sundays work well for me as cool too. Definitely into the night riding and stuff as well too. That's one of my favorites. So if we could do more of that, that'd be awesome too.
Figured, you were on the same ride as Sue, and I don't think, at least with the club that I saw.
Yeah, I actually like, I like the smaller rides too. I don't like for me, I find 30 to 50 machines is a bit big. So whether. I like, I'm available pretty much any day of the week. And leapfrog is good.
Yep, again, leapfrog is good. I do prefer the smaller groups and I do smell every flower on the trail.
That's all right.
So I am the slower rider. I do go out with the fast guys too, because I'm also a fast rider, but I like to inform people, this is a fast ride, this is a smell the flower ride, then you get people just don't show up and say, do not want to stop 300 times. And that's good by me.
There are lots of people that do though.
Yeah, there's a big thing.
Yeah.
I don't work many days of the week anymore. I'm semi-retired.
Didn't you do that
Leaning towards,
before?
huh? I did.
Even less days.
No, only 3 days a week now, so I keep cutting back until I hit the minimum, or whatever that's called. It's 3 days a week I have to work. But I'm leaning towards retiring in the spring, totally. So then I'll be able to lead rides. My problem is I don't like big rides, right? Yeah. And
When you're in the front, you really don't.
Well, it's always,
I know what you mean.
I'm gonna scare a few ride leaders off, but it's always the ride leader's problem, right?
Yeah.
So,
We joke about the 10%.
no, it's not a joke.
I just haven't been there yet.
It's not.
Just for you guys on Zoom, we jokingly always have a 10% acceptable loss ratio on rides, once they get to be a certain size, so.
I can lead rides midweek. I go out quite often on Friday. Just ride by myself or with a small group.
Yeah, did you guys go out today?
We did.
How was it?
Too many trees.
Oh,
This is chainsaw season.
yeah,
More than one. We're not, these trees are 18 to 24-inch trees and they're right across the roads. So when you come to them, because we can't get to the hang gliders right now.
oh yeah.
That trail's got a 24-inch tree
Ooh,
across.
I was gonna go there this weekend. Oh well, I've got us
Not
off.
that way.
I've got us off.
And you can't go up Fargo anymore because they deactivated all our jungle ride to Bush. It's gone.
Really?
It's gone. You cannot go that way.
Did they log in there? Oh,
So we could probably build a trail maybe and end up back there,
It's-
but
private property, right?
that is gone. And Brett put this humongous big cattle gate right out by the road now.
Oh,
So we can't even go down and tell them we want to ride here.
well, its property is for sale, right?
Maybe it's sold.
Yeah.
We were gonna do that today, but it was blocked off, so we
Wow.
couldn't do that either. Yeah. So our ride today was lots of fun, except Jim broke down.
Did he burn the cord out again?
We don't know what he did.
Huh.
We just limped him back down the hill.
Huh.
There's not much snow,
Yeah.
really icy. Super.
So warm the last couple days.
Oh, it's terrible up there, yeah. And Jerry showed up when we watched a whole bunch of Jeeps de-airing their tires, and we're gonna head up there, we're just going. Jerry just came down from there, I'm sure he did de-air, did you?
He's retired. He can afford good tires.
Oh. So yes, that'd be, yeah, leapfrog's great, that's always good. Groups in the leapfrog is really good.
Yeah.
So you don't have to leave your friends. and
Oh,
buddies, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
If there's a slow poke, you get rotated.
Yes.
But that problem with that is he's always be in front of you.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, you have one opportunity at freedom, right? One turn.
So I don't know if passing will be allowed eventually.
Well, we never said you can't pass on
That's
ATV
true.
rides, so,
Yeah,
but
Not just passing safely.
but that also puts a jigger in the, when you get to the front again and you have to go spot at the next corner. It'll be big. True. Yeah.
No, that's it.
Yeah. Lee,
Yeah, I'm good with the leapfrog, but I'm usually only a Sunday rider or late nights for the moment. Yes.
early morning, you mean?
No, he was gonna come with us today because he thought we were on at 10:30 tonight.
Oh, I saw that, yeah. Well, we're gonna wrap this up and then we're going riding.
Yeah, I'm. Only thing, I got a question about the guys going out during the week.
Yeah,
You ever find active logging or that's not marked, lots of trucks? Never, is there a way that a guy can pre-post or have the logging companies put signs up even beforehand?
I don't know what their requirement for active logging. I know at Noble, they typically have some sort of a sign.
Right?
But yeah, that's a huge reality is if you're riding during the
kennel is
week.
One that gets me, 'cause there's so many ways out to the kennel.
Well, and it may be active 44 kilometers down, but then they're just transiting out, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, if you're riding during the week, you have to have a radio or you're gonna get killed, basically. And you need to know what the RRs are and what it means. You don't have to necessarily communicate on them. It would be good when you start on, say, hey, group of 3 quads starting, heading, oh, what do they, is it empty or up and down? They got rid of the empty and loaded thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, kennel could go either way, right?
Yeah, or you could say starting on kettle at 21K or whatever the number is, right?
Something that would
If
be
you're talking
awesome,
about
is
educational courses, that might be one.
There's a good one.
some mapping with the channels
Yeah,
would be awesome, because our trails come out and there's not a sign at the end of our trail that says, this is RR13.
Yeah.
It's, you change from trail to trail, to road, and the channels change.
good one.
I carry a radio all the time, and I thought quite a few times.
Yeah. And the big thing is, just like with the ride leader tail gunner, is you just need it's important to be able to hear them, right? Because they're great. Every kilometer when they're coming down, logging trucks, whatever, 13 kilometer down or out or whatever. But so, and you as a recreationalist, you need to hear that and just get the heck off the road or stay way off on your side. As soon as they see you, they'll be like, ah, there's a bunch of ATVs out here. They're heading up whatever road. So, but yeah, because when they don't know there's anybody coming, they're using both sides of the roads. They're 50 tons. They're chained up going down. Yeah, they're maniacs. You wouldn't drive that fast in a rally car, but they're down there chased by logs. So
Things getting icy now too. It's just that much more risk.
yeah. No, that's a really good one. Lee.
All in all, yeah, leapfrog's great. And any size of
Everyone's
rider.
allowed to bag on leapfrog. I mean, I like it, but you're allowed to bag on it. It's all right. So
No, I think it works good. Okay, I'm not 100%. He knows that.
I already knew that.
Yeah.
Where do you get those?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you could go as inexpensive and as illegal as getting a Baofeng off of eBay or Amazon or something like that. Or you could go to like, I think it's Vernon Communications or whatever, just up towards the Husky dealer here. You'll get a name brand, you'll get an ICOM, a Yaesu, a Kenwood, something like that. You'll pay like $400 to $800, but it'll be amazing.
The fangs right now on Marketplace are selling for $100. Every channel put in.
Yeah.
Every Bush channel, every RR channel, every channel.
Yeah.
They'll program them for that $100.
Yeah. It's
That's it, but
BAOFENG. It's a Chinese radio. They're
it's a big one.
technically they're illegal in Canada because they're not CRTC approved or whatever, but they still come into the country just like everything from China does. So
They're 5 watts or 8 watts.
no, well, or 2.5, is it?
Depends on the channel it is, like.
Yeah.
But I think they got high and low power on them.
Right.
But
But Canada's are chipped down from an American one, which is double the wattage typically.
I've seen quite a few at 8 and 10 now.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're coming there. Okay, and even that's where they're from.
But from what I understand, there is a big range difference. 8 or 5. You know, it's from Canada.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't necessarily rush out and get a radio, especially because you can get the wrong frequency group. So the club, this is one of the things the club will work on and provide some information to everybody, because for most people, there's less riding in the winter, at least ATV riding in the winter. So if you're all right with sitting tight for a couple of months, we'll work on that and try to come out with something by spring that says, hey, here's what the club's doing, and here's what you could do. Actually, maybe later on, in a few minutes, maybe we'll get Mike Dillon to tell us about the Kelowna Club, because they're great. They all have radios, unlike us, who none have radios. So we'll pull Mike in here in a minute once we've gone around about rides. So, Monique? Hey, you let her ride. Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes those are the best rides. You know what, we're just gonna go ride. We decide to go left, we go left. We go right, we go right.
Exactly.
It can take us 20 minutes, it can take us. Yeah, who cares?
Everybody knows that.
Sundays usually work for me, however, I'm leaning towards winning the lottery this year, so then I can go.
Yeah.
A brand new machine.
And a different one every day.
Yeah. Have
Yeah.
someone clean it when you get back.
Exactly.
Clean this one.
And then we don't call her Splash for nothing.
Yeah. Brenda?
Leapfrog, weekend riding, and I like. Oh, I forgot that too, I like trails. Better than boat riding.
So seeing as you're the last of our lady participants here today, I've heard this in the past anyways, is that guys ride like guys, right? We're idiots. And
I resemble that.
yeah, we all do. We've done a few, very few, ladies only rides. Would there be interest in more groups of ladies getting together, or is there a difference in,
We like watching you guys ride like idiots.
yeah, well, but
That a girl.
Yeah, we like all.
That's good.
I
We
mean,
need an
Clint
audience.
told him to do that.
We're better with an audience, right?
I think the only thing is if you wanted to like promote
Yes.
or ladies riding, that maybe having a ladies ride is a good way to do it.
Yeah.
There might be ladies that feel less intimidated to come out.
Yeah, Sigurd's big and.
Well, so
Is there any
so
girls coming?
having
No.
said that, I would donate my machine
Just pretty much.
if you wanted to bring in ladies riders, if it was obviously not a super technical ride.
Yeah.
I would happily donate my
Uh,
machine to help.
lots of these ladies do have their own machine. It's just that they don't necessarily come out all the time.
Right.
So,
But even if you wanted to bring, if there was someone that called and said, hey, I'd like to try this, I would happily drop my machine off and let them ride.
you're getting too good at repairing your machine.
Well, if they promise to write it off, it's even better.
No injury.
Yeah, if you're gonna crash it, you really need to crash.
Yeah.
Oh, his was pretty
Oh,
crashed.
It's got a new frame on it.
Wow.
It went off a cliff.
Twice.
Twice.
Well,
the
it went,
second time
it
I-
almost made it up and then it went down again, didn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So the first time I went down and hit the tree square, and I thought, hey, it's still running, it was all perfect. I started winching it up, and the guy that was with me is synthetic winch line snapped, and it went back down again and hit on the corner.
Just to make sure.
Oh, yes. Hailstorm Ridge, out near the cusp.
Yeah, you were in proper country. You showed me that. I was like, ooh, that's some real trail.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome. It was a great ride. I had to, we were coming down too hot. I was following a guy too close. I was in his dust trail. He turned. I'm like, hey, that's a corner. Locked it up. Bailed on the machine. So it went off. And then, yeah, I was looking. I'm like, hey, it didn't go all the way down. It hit a tree. It's awesome. So I was about 55 feet down because his line was 50 feet. And anyway, got it all the way like within feet of bringing it over the ridge, snapped, down it went again. And I just left it. I walked away, it was getting dark, I walked away, I'm like, I'm calling a tow truck tomorrow.
I tried that. When I rolled my machine, yeah, ripped the hamstrings out of the back of my leg when I leaped off for safety.
Yeah.
I should have stayed on.
There's no way I would
No,
stay on would not have been an option.
I just went to the tree.
Yeah.
You went into the tree, I went through the tree.
Staying on's not a good thing.
Yeah, the scars, I can't even, my body.
Just lie on the ground and look at the tail light.
Thank you, Brenda. Any other comments on ladies' rides or, yeah?
I do.
And you'll drive, you mean?
That's what we,
Yeah.
yeah, we just sit there.
That could definitely, that's something we could arrange.
Okay.
So that's something that could definitely get put together.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed the ones we've done.
yeah.
Had one 6 years ago.
Yeah, long time.
We did one to the Noble Canyon up to the hang glider lookout. That was really good. You led that one. And we did one the year prior to that over on King Eddie. And I don't know if this was appropriate or not, but we had wine and cheese. So
I remember that one.
not too much wine, but
So then could we have beer and pretzel for guy rides?
Don't see why not.
Mr. Walker.
Leapfrog method works best, I think, it's the least amount of losses.
10%.
That's
one way to put it.
It's not, I mean, what I'm surprised at, I've been the leader, and I've been past as leader. And I'm going, where do these people actually know where they're going? And that's why I think the best idea is probably maybe flashing it, I don't know. But, and I'm also for the slightly faster rides.
Slightly.
Slightly or slide.
Either one. Saturday, Sunday, I obviously confused and I just wanted to try something different. I was actually surprised how many people showed up.
Yeah, really.
It was way bigger turnout. That's it.
Close?
Very impressed with the way the club is organized, communication is awesome. Leapfrog is working really well. I love the camaraderie, the social aspect of it, that's why I ride. The safety as well, because if you see me ride, and my wife is happy that I pull my ass over the fire. Due to my work, basically weekends and holidays, I prefer Saturdays, because stressful weeks, that Saturday I can just kind of let it all go, and then Sunday I can prepare for work for Monday. What I'd like to see, that might help the club out a little bit, is I'd like to see maybe some skills training. I prefer the technical rides myself, but then it has to make me think and work. And I'd like to see some skills training, like for example, when in the lake. And yeah, that's,
Oh, yeah.
no, people freak out.
It sounds like a good ride.
When Alan is looking at something, he goes, whoa, stop, I don't think we can make it up there, right? Luckily, the guys like Clint, a couple others that have the skills to get people through it, right? But I know that some people there shake the boots a little bit. So maybe just do a weekend or some skills training where we actually do some.
Oh, this one, the hill had slid away.
Yeah. If we can promote something like that, maybe it'll make some of the slower riders more confident.
Yeah.
And better, right?
And you know where we get really close to the cliff and the creek's right there, and we have cables on side by sides. Were you on that ride? We had 2 cables going.
No, I heard about it though.
But you can't get a side by side to there.
Yeah.
Period right now. It's barely a quad.
Well, you can't ride there legally
Only
anymore.
watch for it. Well, that's, no, that would be out of the zone. That's out of the zone, you can't ride there.
Yeah, that's in the fire closure right now. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's over towards Panoose, but it's far enough into the fire.
You guys do the Irish, Irish.
Right.
It's probably in fire.
Oh, okay.
closure.
Or the boundary.
It was up.
At best, it's about.
Yeah.
Why can't you ride there?
It's fire closure.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've shut the whole area out for a year or more.
Undisclosed amount of time.
Speaking of the skills training, one thing that we might want to consider is doing practically doing how to do safe recoveries and stuff like that.
Yeah, we went 2 hours.
I can see it like.
Yeah. Chad, we need your machine again.
As long as you completely get rid of it.
How
So-
much was your insurance?
It's a lot better now. It wasn't when I did it. I'll say that.
So thank you, Klaus. Now, before we move on from Klaus, everybody has to give a huge round of applause because every stinking ride we go on, Klaus is like, I'll be tailgater. I will suck everyone's dust for the next 6.5 hours. So thank you.
Now we
Where's
just
the
need-
nice red jacket?
Yeah, but it looks fun. I can ride the sheet I want. It's back right off.
Well, and he's rooster every corner too. You see that?
No, that's the Polaris throttle position sensor thing.
One, yeah, on off, that's it.
Yeah.
That's when it works.
The only problem though is when you get stuck in the snow and you gotta
Oh,
turn around
God.
and take
Yeah,
them out.
don't bring that.
Wait.
Yeah, so the tail gunner doesn't show up for half an hour because he's the last guy and he's stuck in the snow and there's nobody there. Two people come back and
What
pick me
was
up.
it? I can make it up that hill?
Yeah, I did. He's got what was the other side of the hill that I couldn't get through. 8 feet of snow. Yeah, you don't want a high center 1,000-pound quad.
Jerry.
I don't have too much to add to what people have already talked about. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the night rides because I like to see where I'm going.
Let him show you how to get some lights on your machine.
But just from listening to the discussion, there's probably a couple of points. You know, the idea of skills training, whether it's recovery or getting up some dodgy stuff. We should probably identify a few spots and maybe weave that into the mix somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Rather than, stumble across it and have to work through it, but that could be done. The other thing I think is, especially when it comes to big rides, of which there aren't too many, big numbers. Sort of the problem with those is it's really hard to break them up into smaller groups. I don't know if we can gain anything. It'd be nice if like the King Eddie thing, said was a ride at King Eddie had 50 machines show up. It'd just be chaos. And that's a spot where you could potentially break into different groups and say, you know, we're going to meet up at Doreen Lake for lunch. Have at it. And you potentially have, 2 or 3 ride leaders, take smaller groups, different groups, and end up at the lunch spot at the same place. But that would probably require a little planning, which is difficult to do because you don't know how many people are going to show up for the
Well,
ride.
that's
So
a big part of
do you
that
want to
too.
add an RSVP? If you think you're gonna, if you know you're coming, 10%, RSVP and then add 10%.
Yeah,
to the
so
numbers.
an example, the Halloween ride, everyone was supposed to register. We had twice as many people that said they were coming. So,
And nobody seems to.
yeah,
But there were still candy left over.
the little kids got loaded up.
And just a tidbit on the idea for a women's ride, about 25% of the membership are women. So, it's not a inconsiderable. So if there was interest for something like that, once or twice a year, I think that would be good.
Perfect. So how about we involve our Zoom people so that they don't fall asleep here? Mike Dillon, you all right if I start with you, in particular Kelowna radios and or rides that we've done together?
Well, we haven't had a joint ride for 2 years due to COVID. Our rides have been really impacted by COVID. There haven't been many large club rides. By large, I mean like 10 plus members. We're kind of relying on members to get together in small groups and organize rides amongst themselves. I think that's had some success. I'd like to get beyond that. The other issue is we don't have a ride director. I stood down 2 years. Well, yeah, I guess stood down in 2020 after doing it for 6 years, and I just can't find anybody to take over. So that's had an impact. Anyway, we keep limping along. Radios, we got into radios several years ago, thanks to a member of our club named Ed Wilson. But anyway, Ed set it all up and got us up and running. And then he, I guess, basically had enough at that point. So he left. So the little Baofeng radios that he was getting from China and selling at cost are no longer available. I tried to pick up the pieces, bought a programming cable for the Baofeng and all the rest, but I could not get it working. So we will continue with radios and you just program anybody's radio, no matter what it is, a little Motorola or whatever, to work. I have an amateur radio license, so I've got a dual band radio on my handlebars, and I can either put the mic up on the handlebars or on the collar of my jacket. The only problem is when it rains, you've got to put it inside the jacket. So that's a bit of a problem for everybody. But that seems to work. And unfortunately, many people show up for a ride with, forgot the radio, that the battery's not charged or whatever. But as long as we've got a radio up front, a radio at the back, it seems to work. It would be ideal to have a few more out there. They're worth their weight in gold. The number of rides that we've had where you just couldn't put the ride back together after somebody took a wrong turn is basically nil. They've helped us regroup, and in cases of accidents where somebody's had an accident, you can get the whole group back together again. It's really, really useful. I have noticed an increased number of people with Garmin inReaches or similar. There's one called, I think it's Zolio, which is similar price. And now Garmin's got the little inReach Mini, which is about $250. So that's great from a safety point of view. I'm not aware of anybody ever having to use one.
Yeah, a bunch of us have the satellite communicators as well, and
I used mine this year.
yeah, we had the summer before the Mara Mountain ride. Somebody had to deploy it because we had someone unwell at the top. So
Yeah.
it took an hour or so for the BC ambulance helicopter to arrive, but they did.
Yeah, that was tremendous. Yeah, we had some of our riders on that. One of the riders was a doctor.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that just shows how useful the thing is.
Yeah. As far as with, I know rides that we've done with you, you could really tell, you actually heard chatter along the line with your radios. What type of frequency do you typically end up on? Do you go onto the road channels, or what were you using?
No, we stick to all our radios are UHF, so they're only good to talk to each other. As a ride leader, I've got a dual band radio where I can go on the channels, but I don't think the UHF radios do not have that capability. So that's not been a big issue for us.
All right. Other Mike, do you have any comments or observations or questions about rides and such?
Well, I'll find out though.
Perfect. Yeah, we're gonna go on Sunday. No questions. Apparently, it's gonna be well, no, there'll be no trees down, guys. Just come on out. It'll be fun.
Well, bring your chainsaws.
Yeah.
You better let me lead, because I already cut all the trees.
Matt, I'm guessing you can hear us. I don't know if you can, if you've got a mic there, if you want to contribute, or if you just want to type. He's pretty easy. Well, that's good to hear. And you got a chainsaw, I hope. Radio's great, and he does have a chainsaw. So, a little bit, yeah, a little bit. I live at 850 meters. The top elevation at Noble is about 1200. And Wednesday, I went from having that much compacted ice on my driveway to getting home and not a shred of snow in the yard. So, yeah, there's supposed to be a bit. So.
Yeah, they were calling for some tonight.
We were up there 2 Fridays ago, Noble, and the snow was 8 to 10 inches deep and easy ride.
Oh, yeah.
It didn't hold you back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be gone.
And yeah, until the really high elevations for sure. If you look at the Silver Star webcams, like I have been as part of the snowmobile club, there's not a lot of snow even up high.
We were almost at there, we were lost.
Oh, you went that way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We took a wrong turn.
The snowmobile club opened their trails today and somebody went up there and they said it was just ice, like just hard ice. There's no fine powder to kick up and cool the yeah, on your snowmobiles, because they use that weird cooling system where it has to throw snow up on the tunnel, so. Well, I had on here, catching up since our last AGM. I've covered that already, and looking ahead, somewhat covered that. I guess one of the things that I could throw in there is that ATVBC is actually, like all clubs, there's not a huge amount of interest in people being directors. Because why, right? Why do you want to put your name forward to be a director? It's just more time, more responsibility. So ATVBC is looking at using a model similar to Four Wheel Drive BC, where you join ATVBC, and then you can associate with a club. Like if a club still wants to exist, that's fine. But Four Wheel Drive BC, basically you join the provincial organization and then you find people in your area and you can form your own little club. You can do groups and that sort of thing. And what they've said is, and I think it's the reality, is we do see a lot more of what we call Facebook clubs, where there's groups of people like Vernon ATV Trail Riders. A lot of people on Trail Riders aren't necessarily members of the club, but they see us post on there and they go out for rides. So one of the, so for example, in the Lower Mainland, I don't know which club, but you think Lower Mainland, no shortage of people. They've actually had clubs fold because people just aren't willing to be the directors anymore, and the club folds. Doesn't mean there still aren't people interested in riding. So ATVBC is trying to fill that gap by saying to members of the area, hey, you can still be part of ATVC, and what we're going to try to do is maybe put a regional director or an officer, they call it, in your area, and that person will suggest the odd ride and deal with different groups and stuff. So it's something, seeing as we're at the AGM, to discuss is, do we want to continue being a club? I think we do fairly well. We've got decent membership. We still have a core group of people that, for the most part, we're looking at or seeing on Zoom here. Do we want to continue being a club in a Societies Act way? And what that means is that we have to have an AGM every year. We have to send in $50 to the government. They don't care what you say. They want your $50. And as directors, we're supposed to do, well, actually, there's no requirement aside from the AGM of doing meetings, but the club used to do a lot more meetings. We could just basically say, forget this Vernon ATV Club thing. Let's just become a Facebook group of riders, and we'll just say, hey, on Sunday, we're going to go do a ride, or on Tuesday or whatever day it is. The one nice thing of, and I guess this is a question I don't necessarily know the answer to, is having money and being a society is a better idea, because if we weren't a society, it would just be a bank account and it would be in somebody's name, and there'd be fewer rules around that. Like there wouldn't be multiple signers on the account and that sort of thing. That's where I think you can get into some trouble. Anytime you're dealing with money, you're going to get into trouble, right? There's always the risk for that. So just making people aware that in parts of the province, Princeton, Tulameen, Karamias is one where there were individual ATV clubs, and the people who are running them are just tired of doing it. So they're looking at that kind of model where it's less about the organizational stuff and more about doing what we enjoy doing. So I don't think Vernon's to that point yet, because we still have lots of folks that are willing to come out and help out, but the day may come. Maybe I'll get tired of doing this at some point in time. So
Are some of the perks that we get from being part of the ATV club, like the insurance and other things, is that because we're part of ATVBC or part of the Vernon Club?
there are two aspects of that, and Sue probably can correct me on this. So there's a ATVBC aspect. You as a member of ATVBC, you actually don't get any insurance benefits directly. As directors of ATVBC, we do have a policy, directors and officers or whatever. Like there's, if the club does something and it's Jerry and I that made the decision, there's some insurance, as long as we haven't done something that makes, is horribly negligent, that ATVBC and their insurance will come act on our behalf. But you as a member of ATVBC don't actually get insurance. You get access to insurance discounts as a result of your membership. So.
And also the ride leader, Dale Manor on the ride, is covered through the ATVC
Yeah, no, actually, a little clarification. When you're on an organized group ride, is it just the people acting on behalf of the club that are protected? Because we each need to have our own liability on the ride. There's no additional stuff for the riders of,
It's basically for the leader, tail gunner, they lead someone into something. Shoot over the edge. They can blame, they'll blame the leader for taking them there,
Right.
even though it's your fault for being dust. But they'll blame, I mean, let's be honest, little Johnny gets hurt, you're gonna sue everything you can.
yeah, I think Sue has answers.
Well, I don't actually question,
Oh,
because I get a lot of people say with the Fish and Wildlife Club.
Yeah.
That say, I don't need to buy insurance because I have a wildlife club.
Oh, only when you're
Well, no, but you can also be scouting apparently.
So
you
are
can
you
be out in the
taking
middle
your
of the
fire out?
summertime and saying that you're just looking for deer tracks because you are going to get a ticket in the fall, or you kind of hope to get a ticket in the fall, you will see where the deer tracks are leading. And so you're just actively out scouting all the time. Or you have a little pulled up fishing
I
rod.
thought it specifically said hunting,
Hunting and fishing.
hunting and fishing, not scouting. Scouting.
I've been told to include scouting.
yeah,
See, I just go by what people tell me, because I'm always asking, like,
that one's pretty gray, I think.
how does this work?
I used to do it that way, and it's right, the language used to say actively fishing or hunting. So I used to carry along a fishing rod.
Exactly. And if you're
Just to cover
16
that.
miles from a lake. you
But
say,
if I was
"Come on,
out
put
with
it out."
with 30 other people, with the Vernon ATV Club, and I had my fish and wildlife thing, they'd say, come on, you're out with the club, you're not out there.
Yeah.
actively hunting. You're with these guys.
And that's the thing, the problem is when it comes down to it, when you need insurance, is it gonna cover you? And they're gonna try to find every opportunity to not cover you, because that's their business, right? But,
Depends on the company.
true,
There's certain companies that I sell, I actively to cover you, and then there's the other one.
yeah,
Well, that sort of plays into the, and again, this is, I'm dragging up memories from the past, which is somewhat faded. But the fish and wildlife thing, there are some areas, especially in the lower mainland, where you have to have liability insurance as a hunter. And the Fish and Wildlife Club coverage provided you with that rider. It's not the case around here, but it's a big deal down there. If you're in Abbotsford, Chilliwack, some places like
BC
that.
Wildlife Federation policy, should let us know there's very gray areas on whether or not Forest Service Road as compared to the land right beside the Forest Service Road. And definitely private land, not covered by this.
The bottom line is, your basic insurance only costs you 60 or 70 bucks.
Exactly.
Why cheap outreach?
well, if you gotta use that $60 to get another LED light on your $60,000 side by side, so.
See, and I
And I think I'm pretty sure that the ATV BC insurance for club events is basically for the club itself and whoever might be acting on the club's behalf, directing or orchestrating the thing, which would be like a ride leader or something like that. But it's the insurance to cover the liability of the club, ride leader in case somebody got hurt.
Yeah.
It's not to cover the,
The guy going off the cliff.
the other participants in the ride. That's not insurance for those people.
Yeah.
It's insurance for the club and whoever's organizing the day's event.
Yeah, well, and also, so I just wanted to understand if we did drop our society status, what the club would lose.
People acting on behalf of the club would be at risk, whatever that is. So I guess if you turn it into something like, okay, let's use a Facebook riding group example. Somebody riding that, leading that ride puts themselves at risk, right? Because if something goes wrong, finger pointing happens, right? Especially if somebody gets hurt or killed, right? Now, understandably, they've lost someone in their family, they've lost the breadwinner, that kind of thing. Fingers get pointed and that person does put themselves at risk. So it is good that way to have the club protection, I suppose. But there are, with everything, there's limits, right? If you go and do something stupid, you can still be hammered and nailed to the wall, right? Like if you we'll just ride this cliff, no problem, and the person goes off, well, it wasn't necessarily the best decision to, especially if we say, oh, it's a beginner ride, then we ride along the edge of a cliff or something, so.
Yeah, if you've done something stupid or negligent, or a whole like setting a fish.
Do we, does anyone need like a 2-minute, 3-minute break or anything? Is there bathroom break needed or anything? Everyone good? Water break? Okay. Feel free to get up and just wander around too if you want. So there's a water jug here. We're just gonna take a couple minutes. I think people are just gonna stretch their legs for a bit, guys. We'll be back, and the Zoom thing is scheduled to go till 8:30. So we'll try to have it wrapped up by then as well. Just set them on the counters anywhere.
If you're looking for cans. they
Oh,
go
right.
there.
How about we set it against the bottom of the, or that?
That was just, Vulcan was the one Bart was using a dipshit.
Look, your dog's getting bored. I wanna get out and play.
That's what it was.
Mike, can you pull that one out?
Yeah, Vulcan loves clubs.
You heard anything about your tracks?
No.
No?
Alan got some good news this week, though. His machine was supposed to be here in February and it's shipped on December 1st.
Seen them unloading yesterday when I was down there.
I don't know if it shipped that fast.
They had a big truck sitting in there and
Oh, yeah?
there were guys all around it, is all I know.
Oh, maybe they're not telling him something. No, this was Polaris that sent him a thing saying it shipped on December 1st. So,
I just thought of something for the extra money.
yeah.
Better, invest in better tires for the Kingston.
Oh, yes, that is part of the plan. We are, if we can ever use them again, they'll be upgraded.
I don't, the wheels themselves are quite expensive.
Yeah. No, we've done well with those and people have enjoyed it, so for sure. Wow. I'm gonna go. Sunday. Yeah, Sunday, no block. Now we just have to trick Alan into going out and cutting all the trees first, because he,
I'll send email this chance.
well, the funny, not funny thing is Alan takes his ride leading very seriously. And there was one 2 years ago, 2 years ago at Mount Ida, 3 years ago, you and Catherine and Brendan, no, sorry, not Catherine, Martina, gosh, totally gapping out. You rode the Saturday before our Sunday club ride and you did all the logging on the trails and, yeah. You've done it on a lot of rides, yeah. So Alan's like, hey, there's a ride this Sunday. I'm gonna go ride the trail on Saturday. I'm like, no, you're not. No, just leave it. We'll all do it. Well, you'll do it, but we'll all do it.
I'll watch. The lobster's clear now. Need to use the lobster.
Oh, yeah.
We went up the lobster, cleared it, it was.
It's great for four-wheelers.
What do you mean?
We didn't cut it wide enough for side by side.
Oh.
We don't have any side by side.
Yeah,
I did it that Friday night. There was one section I couldn't do. Eh?
Was that the leaning tree?
I'm gonna grab.
We can get under?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jim couldn't get under that either.
But, so I pulled a bunch of logs out of the way just with a winch, and then he could go under one side. And we said we should really cut that. Yeah, Jim's under it, we're good. That's probably the one you couldn't make it under, because that was pretty, that was right where that big clearing is off to the side. Is that where it was?
Just before,
Yeah, yeah, we left that one. Because the chainsaw was dead. That was a pretty big tree, wasn't it? Oh, no, it wasn't. It was only 8
It was
inches.
smaller ones, but just the angle, the one end was left.
And we were worried about a couple of those trees when we cut them, that they were gonna slide down the cliff at us.
That's actually what happened.
Yeah,
So
it
as we
did.
touched it, it slid down.
Oh, that's what we were worried about. A couple of them, we were going, we cut this here, that's, whatever's up there is gonna come down at us.
My buddy that's never, I was taking him up to go get his game camera.
Oh, yeah?
It's never been in a machine before.
What?
So
Wow.
he was having a heyday there until that happened. And then he, like, it started coming into the cab.
Yeah.
Eh? I stopped, buck it out. He's like,
How often does that happen? It is rare, but. I was gonna have to go to Merritt tomorrow. Oh, to work for how long? Well, just for the weekend kind of thing. So, guys are coming home for a day and
Well, thanks for trying to pick up, because there's I'm not sure where they're out of, but there's a tiny little road crew doing some work on the East Barrier Lake Forest Service Road. And it's under contract with the government, obviously, they're upgrading the road. And, when the shit hit the fan, a week or so ago, I'm thinking, I wonder how long this is gonna happen. And sure enough, they got pulled today.
Oh, did they?
You're going to go down the highway 8 next week.
and you'll be there for a month or two. Oh, a year?
There's kilometers of highway that are missing.
Did you see that? I think that they had one of the little, I don't know what it was. Maybe it wasn't a helicopter. It was probably one of
Drone,
the, it must have been a drone. And it was on the Indian land there. And they said, this is where the road starts. And the drone was there. And then they followed this cliff for about a mile. This is where the road is now.
Yeah.
Did you see that one? It was just gone. And he says, and there's no way around this, no way to cross, no way to come back again. He says, it's gone. So that's non-fixable.
Well, we're gonna have to dig into that gravel cliff, which is gonna be.
That's just gonna fall down. That is downtown Merritt. Oh, that's gross. That's a car. What? Right in front of the mobile home. Just buried. So our guys were pulling that out of the river yesterday. What's that? The house? Double wide. Oh, that's hanging over there by, wow, is that ever hanging over? So what, you just drag it out? Military was down and they bucked it in half and took it out in 2 sections. Well, they broke it down because it's a double wide. Double wide, yeah. You can break a double wide down. Pretty dense, wow. Oh, yeah. I feel so bad. Don't have, the ones that lost their car, that's bad.
The boot came off.
But they're ones that lost their car, that's bad. But the guys that lost their house, their cows and their chickens, and that's real. I don't know if I could recover from that. Imagine what it'd be like. You got your clothes in
There
your
might be
back,
some residual, but it shouldn't
because
be
your clothes,
big.
winter water's this deep, and how high is your dresser? Well, our guys that are down there, city actually has a catering thing set up at the city, because there's not enough restaurants for all the guys that are down there.
The same thing with a car, when a car goes off.
And 3 hotels open.
Most
and
cars
they're all booked.
get off the grid now, and it's go in a scanner.
They're gonna have to put tents in.
Oh, so that was nice. Not fucking out, say, nice.
Get out of here. Yep, we'll start leaning back to our seats.
Sunday. And then they go home tonight, so they disconnect the battery. I'll just take the car itself.
Oh, when was the last time I came up to you?
I know.
But did I tell you our news?
Grandparents? Yeah.
That's right, that's right, at Jim's superstore. That's right, yeah, I knew I talked to you somewhere, I don't remember. Yeah. 2 months.
In 2 months?
2 months.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
It's been a long time coming though. She got kind of put on hold because of COVID. But she said, let's do it. Before, because it started. She said, every time she was she was by herself. She's
No one's allowed
and she
to.
goes, it was a great equalizer. She said she didn't feel like the odd one out.
Cool.
I mean, she was still like sweet somebody. She was honest. But like she said, she can, she can.
Can't wait forever, right?
But she's 37. There's not a lot of time left. You've been different and definitely more involved than she
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people do it on their own, regardless of the situation they go into it nowadays, right?
Well, yes, and what's interesting is that guy that I got to know through insurance, and he also knows your dog, all that stuff. When I said she was going to class, and she said, but I kind of got the impression that he thought that she had just kind of. And it's like, yeah, no, that's
not.
That's pretty cool. Plus, but like I was saying, I also was like the soft one. Being all these people who say, oh no, I can't touch children. I haven't actually had it. And some guys believe it. And there's a little there. whereas, and the whole process of going through is something we have other people that did it, and the guy that we chose, the Canadian, had a sister who had, trucks getting ready, in Thompson, because how big of a thing it was
Yeah.
for it to be available, so that's what he got involved, so it's just kind of a neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing, getting the guy involved in it, you know, and making him, and if he's a half a decent guy, he's gonna be responsible for the rest of his life, whether he wants it or not.
Right there, yeah. Actually, it was about 4,000. Only get a razor. Of course, right behind. I like his better in general. Yeah. I just like the design and the setup. Big red is. Not so race oriented. I see. And who's driving it?
Okay, we're back. Your pet? Hey?
She doesn't like the way I drive, I don't like the way she drives, so we sold it and bought two plots. So it's not out of records. All right. Oh, you keep both of them? Sold the kids or what? Well, yeah, keep it two plots. That's not a plot.
I know exactly.
Hey, what do you think this is, an ATV club?
Yeah.
So we're to the part of the agenda, unless anybody else wants to throw something in before we get to the election portion. I think we covered pretty much everything that we need to cover. Any directors have any other ideas? No. So we're in a bit of a unique position with elections because we skipped a year. So we technically we're all up. So we're looking for 7 responsible new people.
So there's 15 here, good luck.
No, actually, so part of the club, the way it's designed is to prevent, the idea is, say you had a, yeah, you had a bunch of people that like, oh, we want to take over the ATV club. They've got a healthy bank account. Is each year we vote for half of the directors, and then in the other year you vote for the other half. So, yeah. So we were going to have a discussion before, but socialization took over. We had some, so Monique, Alan, and myself said that we would stay on. Steve has expressed his interest in passing away. Oh, yeah, moving on from being a director, because
Passing on.
I'm trying to think, when did you, would it have been, what, 09, 10?
10.
10?
I became a director in 10 for 2 years, then was president for 2 years, then went back to director after that.
Yep.
Rest.
So another huge thank you for Steve for everything that he's done to the club for never. And so, like Steve said, his directorship often has been ride leader, and Steve's led an awful lot of rides, which is the core of what we do. So thank you for that as well. So we have,
Still don't know.
and just think, you'll be the youngest guy to ever retire from Home Depot.
Probably.
Yeah.
Start there with the-
I know, yeah. Steve, you can still get around. Why are you leaving?
I know, yeah. Still walk.
Yeah, you can hear when you ask,
Still work.
someone asks you a question.
I'm willing to stay on.
Okay.
I think you're starting out your in.
We had another director. He's listed on the paper, but he's we won't allow him to be a director because he didn't attend anything.
What was his job?
Just there are directors who are just directors.
Okay.
So so we are looking for.
Who's staying on? Bonnie staying on? Michael staying on?
I think everyone is except for you who's dying.
And you're staying on?
He's just not
Oh, Jerry.
Jared? Yeah.
Okay.
That's fun.
Okay, so
Me and what was it? Otto. Oh, it's been so long. I've only seen it once.
so at this point, now if we have people who are interested and we have enough people, we can have an election. Currently, we have 5 people. staying on or interested in staying on from the previous board. But if we've got other people who are interested in helping out, and just to really woo you into joining the directors, you get your own gold card. There's, yeah, it's a zero balance gold card, sorry, but and for the last few years, we haven't done any meetings. So there isn't a heavy load. Not to say there isn't, because we do a fair amount of stuff by email and others. We'd like to do more, and there's maybe even the idea of getting back to having meetings for the sake of just getting together and having meetings. So COVID is, allowing. It's one of those things where it can be as much as you're willing to give, or as little as you want. So, Mark.
First, you guys, can you go over what the normal director is?
Sure. So some directors have titles, like president, treasurer, membership, and then we have just director at large. And it's just because our the way that we've set up the society and bylaws that we're allowed up to 7, I believe. I should have read it, but we're allowed up to 7. I don't know if we have a minimum. 4 is the minimum?
And that's the society.
Okay. What a director does from time to time. So if we go back, say 2 years, an example or examples of what club's done, we had, I'm trying to think, I know we had one, what was that, a 3 or 4 hour, or was it a whole day that we did that strategic planning session? Directors, just like for this meeting, we're bouncing emails back and forth. And the idea being, rather than having one decision maker with a club, it gets bounced around between the directors. So first, before the email went out to gauge public interest in having a meeting, it went around us. Hey, should we have an AGM? We're required to have an AGM, or should we just send in and say, nope, we didn't do it again this year and pay the $50? And they'll be like, sweet, $50. But so everybody said the dates they were available and that, yeah, we thought we should do it, and that we see your interest in doing it in person versus online, etc. So that's the kind of thing, that there's the odd time where we actually do have a director meeting. So it's a meeting like this, but it's 5 or 7 people who get together and say, hey, we've talked about getting these radios. We actually need to formally vote because we're spending some money, or we need to come up with a plan because we need to come to a bigger meeting to spend greater than a certain amount of money. So stuff like that. It's there will be some emails, and your name gets written on a piece of paper that says you're a director of a club, and the amount that you are willing to participate. If you don't participate, like some past directors have, you will be asked to stop being a director. But if you answer emails and come to the odd meeting, then you're doing a good director's job. That's limited to a couple of people. Treasurer and president, I think, right now, or vice president. Yeah. It's 3 that can sign, but it's 2 that have to sign.
Yeah, and certain clubs, I don't know, I actually don't know this one, but some have to be, there's 3 to sign, but one always has to be person X. So there's really only 1, and then 1 or 2 others.
It's like Doug guys in Canada, the district commissioner of the district has to sign, and then there is 2 others who are optional to sign, but there has to be 2 others who can sign. One person cannot hold the power.
I'm not sure.
What's the sign? Must sign. And then you were.
I one of the times. I know he.
Like a master's.
So we do have to throw a couple other rules in. I'm pretty sure, again, I should have read our bylaws more closely. Pretty sure that 2 people from the same family, as in husband and wife, is not allowed.
I don't know if the club has that rule. I know he.
Yeah. We'll
It's a good rule for the.
we'll say that we have that. If not, we'll have a vote and put that in our bylaws during this meeting. Maybe, because actually it costs more money if you want to change your bylaws. So
It's another $50. Yeah.
I think it's only 25 for that. But.
But I guess just answer your question simply, Mark. Like Clint is the president, does a whole lot of stuff just communicating wise, Alan's taken on the treasury role, whether you'll continue on there is another thing. I've taken on the membership thing, which, you know, whether I continue on, if somebody else wants it, they can have it. So there's a couple of positions where you actually got some duties to do. And the rest of it is just sort of council, really. And, you know, if we do decide to spend, you know, some funds on, say, purchasing some club capital assets like radios or something, that would probably be something that the directors should get together and just have a conversation about.
Yeah, so often directors end up with research projects or ideas and stuff like that. And I apologize, I certainly didn't mean to diminish. Alan does a heck of a lot with our treasury stuff, and Jerry does a heck of a lot with our membership stuff. So there certainly are things that take a lot of time as directors. And then some are, like you said, more just sounding boards and throwing ideas and helping out that way. Membership is 1 year from the date of your purchase. It's, yeah, it used to be May 1st or May 31st, and that was kind of dumb, so they.
Yeah, I think you're not on my list, so I think you might.
I have no idea when I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah, I know. If you didn't get an email, I don't know what I'd be called. I didn't get it. I get like 200 emails a day.
I don't know. Like, oh.
Yeah, we got to look for the Vernon ATV. It's truly, it is.
Yeah, well, like I said, you're not on my current.
Hey, come here for 170.
Yeah.
I do have a book here if you want to buy one.
Pizza's paid for too.
No, I don't chase people.
So we have 5 right now. We are allowed up to 7. So are there any 2 people interested in joining our merry band of thugs? We have Miss Christian.
If permitted.
Well, you're not married, so.
But
You have no idea how many times she has called my wife, so she's my daughter.
Okay, I admit when I first met you, I thought, well, I know. Because you get along so well.
I have to.
Now, there's your first line or not.
So, thank you, Christian. Christian would be an amazing asset to the club. Your role in Girl Guides was?
I was district commissioner for 3 years, so I was essentially president for the Vernon district.
Yeah, and you did a lot of stuff. Your house was filled with Girl Guide cookies.
It still is.
We still have boxes of cookies.
Oh my God.
Probably
You didn't
smells
bring it here.
divine.
We're technically not allowed to give them out past expiry date. They are supposed to be in the garbage.
Bring them here. I'll garbage them.
Black marker.
Just think of how many Eric would eat.
I still have craft supplies. I still have file folders. I got permission forms that were supposed to be sent in 3 years ago.
You're not selling yourself on.
Yeah. Yeah, that part.
Think your job is safe.
Submit them if somebody died.
And you don't get cookies here, so.
But a good point to make though is there is less paperwork if a girl dies on a girl guide trip than is injured. Putting that up there.
All right.
If ATV wants to pick up any.
How about you? What about, would you want to be a director? I'd like to.
You may nominate.
Clubs.
All right,
We're allowed to
would
nominate,
close,
are we not?
yes, absolutely.
I'll second that.
Oh, looks like you're in close.
Oh, yeah.
He has to say,
Yes, to accept.
he has to say I accept.
Go ahead.
All right. So with Christian and Klaus, that would make 7. We can go beyond that number. That just means that we would have an election at that point. So I guess what I should do is I should do it as close to Robert's rules as possible. Expressions of interest, anyone else wanting to put their name forward as a director? First call.
Well, third call.
Second call. Third and final call, anyone else? We can do elections, it's not a problem. If you're interested, we can do elections. If you're not interested, we will just accept those names that have been put forward. Future date, just get you out on some rides, more rides first.
I just got a couple of things on my plate that I want to clear, to make sure that I have time for the club and stuff.
Yeah.
I would definitely be interested.
Always waste your work.
Sounds good. Okay, so hearing no further, then we have ourselves 2 directors by acclamation, I guess it would be. So that's awesome. Oh.
Klaus says that was bullying, but.
So that's it for the meeting officially. Is there anything else that we'd like to cover? We probably have Zoom for another 10 minutes till it cuts off. There was a little, so this is an interesting thing. I'll use up a little time. So if you create a brand new account with Zoom, someone had told me that the first meeting you have, they'll let you go as long as you want. And then in your second meeting, they impose a 40-minute limit if you're not paying. And it came up at 35 minutes and said, we're so nice, we're letting this meeting go as long as you want. So there you go. So that's a trick if you want to have a meeting, just every new email address you create. So.
Whoever's organizing rides for the next year or whatever else, will we redo some of the rides that we've done this year?
Oh yes, we definitely do areas over again. Yeah.
Like I missed
Just about every ride can be done over again.
Yeah.
Like I missed Mount Ida.
Mount Ida, that's the ride from Delta.
No, Mount Ida?
Mount Ida.
Yeah.
There.
Any comments from Zoom? Anything, guys?
No, just thanks for inviting me to the meeting, and I'll see some of you on Sunday, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I will be there. Look forward to seeing you out there, Mike. Mr. Dillon?
My only comment is volume. With the group spread out there, it's very difficult to pick up the volume.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, sure.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe in the future, if it would be possible to see people closer, or there's a different microphone or something. I could hear you throughout, Clint, but most of the rest of it I missed.
Okay, yeah, sorry, we tested it before the meeting and we could pick up people further away, but yeah, understandably, we'll endeavor to do better on the future Zooms if we have to use them again.
Yeah, okay, well, that's good.
Yeah. And thank you, Matt. Appreciate everyone for coming on Zoom and in person. So, like I said, Zoom people will probably be cut off here at 20-30 hours because that's when I scheduled the meeting to go to. So thank you again for coming. We'll just leave the video going. If you want to sign off, you certainly can. And we look forward to seeing you on the trail soon.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Thank you. So everyone who's here, you're welcome to stay as long as you want. We're doing a reasonable job of being COVID safe. So if you continue doing a reasonable job, here's the thing, right? We're all double vaccinated. So aren't we supposed to be safe?
Safer.
You can still get it.
You can still get it, but yeah. So just, yeah, try not, it's Friday night. We've had pop and chips and pizza. Let's try to keep the making out down. Reduce the contact, keep the COVID away. Because actually Alan's is a member of some of the Lower Mainland clubs, and he received an email last weekend before.
Yeah.
They had their Christmas party or AGM. Yeah. So you tell the story.
Well, on a Friday, people open up there. I know that because I was supposed to go to one, and I did. I get this email last week. There was a instance of COVID at our big company. President for
It just reduces this variance.
Yeah, I don't think I don't see that so much.
Yeah. Still gonna stay home for 2 weeks. Usually, because you're still trying, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But it wasn't spread.
It was spread, and it was spread at a restaurant at a pub. So obviously everyone had to be double vaccinated.
Yeah.
I was just at a
Buddy
church.
church.
But it does,
spare.
but it, I mean, to me, it does say something.